What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick Theriot, and today I have an exciting new video for you guys. Today, I brought on a very special guest for you guys. This is honestly probably one of my early mentors in the e-com game. He's someone that's been through my entrepreneurship career in the last 2 years and responsible for a lot of my success in the e-com space and everything like that. Personal happiness, success, all that fun stuff. But he's very special in the e-com space because he is considered a growth consultant and has helped multiple e-com brands hit some humongous numbers, 10x in their business within a few months. And he's responsible for probably 8 figures and maybe close to 9 figures in revenue. He's done some amazing stuff. With that being said, guys, I want you to meet Zach Hesterberg. Zach, how are you today, man?
Yo, dude, Nick, first of all, thanks so much for having me. Second of all, dude, I'm swell. I'm swell.
We made the mistake of not recording this earlier because we've already dived in some pretty deep topics for you guys today, but we have some very special stuff we're going to plan for you. AOV, man, what is that like? Tell me a little bit about that.
AOV, yeah, I mean, average order value. It is how much the average person is spending with you at a given time. What specifically would you like to know about it?
So we're in a space right now where a lot of our, say, brands, they haven't spent much time on it. They focus a lot on acquisition. They focus a lot of time on LTV. But then when they look at AOV, they're like, what can I do? Like, what are the ways we can increase AOV and what does that have an impact on a business?
Yeah. Okay. So just some principles that people need to understand is that, look, in general, there are only 2 ways that a business can make revenue. That's it. Number 1, you get more customers. And number 2, you make more money from your customers. Like you have a customer spend more with you. And that second part is where most people leave money on the table. E-com is notorious for this. And by the way, this is for every business model in general, but e-com is the worst at that second part. So the idea of e-com is like, you don't have a business unless you're getting customers. And so they're so focused on ads to like driving people into their Shopify store. Let's get some people, whatever, ordering our 1 or 2 products, whatever. And that's kind of like what they focus on. You can scale to like 7 figures doing that. But at the end of the day, if you're not paying attention to how much a customer is spending with you, you're not going to scale that high. And so there's 2 ways to do that. AOV is the first way. That's going to be how much are they spending with you at a given time. And then there's also lifetime value of a customer. So how often are they coming back and making more and more purchases with you? So AOV is going to be one of the easiest ways to make more money. I mean, from the get-go, like literally you do one thing, and we'll talk about some tactical stuff in this video. But if you implement one thing, you can immediately make more revenue per customer, which then allows you to spend more money on acquisition. So if let's say that your average order value is $50, the average person spending $50 on your site, and you're spending $40 to acquire a sale, plus your $10 cost of goods sold, cool, you go have $1 million business, but you have 0 profit left over. So increasing that AOV from 50 to $75, well, that's going to drastically change either your profits or allow you to completely scale and spend way, way, way more on acquisition. So that's kind of the premise of why AOV is important.
Now, looking at the business and everything, you're acquiring customers, reasonably good rate, and then obviously your AOV is X amount. What are some of those maybe tactical ways to actually increase your AOV inside of your business?
Yeah. 2, 3, let's say 3 ways, 3 tactical core principles, and then we can talk about specific tactics within those. So the core principles are raise your price. And that's something that I see a lot of e-com people actually totally neglect. They get so focused on one of the other 2, which are upsells and cross sells, that they forget about the easiest option, which is raising your price. Look, at the end of the day, if you have 100 people coming in and buying a $20 thing on your website, you're not going to lose that many customers if overnight you bump that from $20 to $21 or $20 to $22. I actually I have a client that they sell decals for cars. Their average order value is like, I think like 17. Well, before this change, it was around $16.50, $17. And I was like, hey, have you raised your price like ever in the last couple months? And they're like, no. It's like, yeah, I'll do that. And their average thing that someone's buying is like $10, or technically it's like $8. And I was like, yeah, I'll just raise the $8 thing to $10. And then they had a couple things that were selling for like $25. And I was like, yeah, bump those up to 27. They did that overnight. So they essentially increased it by $2. Their average order value, sure enough, went up by $2 on their entire store, which doesn't sound exciting. Like, cool, I went from $50 to $52 or $17 to $19. But when you're getting a couple hundred customers a day, that adds up pretty quick. And so that, I mean, that almost overnight was like another $1,000 of profit for them per day. So like price is the number one way to change your AOV. And then upsells and cross sells. And there's a bunch of different ways that we could, but not a bunch. There's like 5 or 6 different ways off the top of my head that you can tactically make those happen. But I will tell you, in getting your AOV higher with an upsell or cross sell, there's only 2 ways to do it. There's before purchase, like before someone says complete purchase, and then there's right after. And so before, that's what most people think of. They're like, oh, I've got like a pop-up on my website. So whenever someone adds something to the cart and they're about to go check out, there's a pop-up that's like, hey, would you like our customers also bought these things? Would you like any of these? That would be one way that you can get your average order value higher. But very often, I think I worded that wrong. Most people do not take those, like they don't take you up on that. Most people will just immediately click X on that because they think they're good to go. And they know that you're just marketing to them, and they are fully focused on making the purchase of the 1 or 2 things that they personally added to the cart. So then your better opportunity is after checkout, right after they say complete purchase. Instead of going, because right now, when someone says complete purchase, I want you, if you're watching this video, seriously, close your eyes for a second and think about the last thing that you bought, whether it was on Amazon, whether it was on someone's Shopify site. The last time you said complete purchase, that is the most heightened state of emotion that you're at within the buying process. You have the emotional relief of like, oh, okay, I'm finally doing it. You're excited. You're no longer really worried about the money, but at the same time, you're like, please go through. Like, I just want everything to be good to go. I don't want to have to refresh my page and potentially get charged twice. Like, you are the most attentive the very second you say complete purchase. When you do, you're expecting to see a little thank you page that says order confirmed. It'll be here at this time. Instead, if you have a little intermediary page that says, great, before you're like, essentially before you go, or hold on, your order's not complete. You're like, wait, what? And so that, if you give an offer, then dude, you're going to have super, super high take rates on that because people are so attentive. But the thing is, and this is where most businesses screw up, when they're trying to implement something like a post-purchase upsell or like a one-click upsell, when you're trying to do that, people don't understand how to present the right product or the right offer that actually gets a high take rate.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest ones. And what would you say? Or first off, like, I just have to agree with you. Like, that is freaking amazing because, like, I know for like me, for example, like when I go shopping at a store, they complete the order, everything like that. You put everything on the counter. They, here you go, like everything's good to go. And then all of a sudden you start seeing like other little things around the cash register. You start putting it up there because you're at a peak emotion and everything. And it kind of like, or like when you go on Amazon, you go on a freaking shopping spree. Like I'll purchase one thing. Whew, great. I'm like, oh, wait, what about that thing? Oh, it's just 20 more bucks. And then like, you just start going through this like spree of shopping, and it is a lot more effective versus just, oh, here's a pop-up right before you hit add to cart, or after you hit add to cart. And you're like, no, I don't need that. But yeah, diving further into it, I think a lot of people just don't really understand like the type of product add-on, or like what's the best product add-on? Do I just do another? Like, I see a lot of like, stores where they just offer the same product at a cheaper rate, and then it's just like a big slap in the customer's face. Hey, you just bought this product for 100%. Why don't you buy a second one for 50% off? It's like, that's just not really great business, I think.
Yeah. No, first of all, you're right. And second of all, really, really quick, I think something, a very direct example, and it would bridge what we were just talking about into what we're about to be talking about. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about at the store and like in a physical store doing this, think about a grocery store when you're going up to go, whatever, put your groceries on the conveyor, your little conveyor belt, whatever, you're about to check out. You probably passed by the little rack of gum and candy and magazines without really thinking much about it. That would be like a pre-purchase upsell. It's like, yeah, you could maybe get a couple extra people to add something to the cart, but very few people actually do. Think about if the cash register or the person working at the cash register, if right before you insert your card, or actually, let's say right whenever you insert your card into the machine, before it actually says payment received, before that, but like you give them the card and right before it says payment received, like take out card. What if the cash register or the person working at the cash register is like, wait, would you also like this? You're like, what? Like you're going to be paying the most attention at that very moment. Yep. So anyway, that's kind of the idea of a post-purchase upsell, is like, you're literally in the process of buying this and you're just trying to make sure that everything is good to go. And instead you're given an offer. And bridging that into right now, if you had bread and peanut butter in your, like on the belt, and that's what you're buying, and the person's like, wait, would you like to buy gum? You're like, no, I don't need that. Yeah. And you're going to be able to bypass that really, really easily, as compared to, well, hey, if they're buying bread and peanut butter, they might want jelly too. And so if you're like, wait, would you also like to buy jelly? Making sure the offer is more relevant to the customer's journey. And so there are multiple different ways to do that. You mind if I just kind of cover this, like the main ways, and then you can ask me questions if you care to. Okay, cool. So in standard ecom, like I said, there's the cross sells and the upsells. Examples of this. Okay, so one example would be like a lifetime or like an annual, and this is like an annual option. And this is going to be more so like if you're selling something that's like in the line of memberships. So if you have a subscription service, like a box service, and someone is buying something on a weekly, or not a weekly basis, well, maybe it's a weekly basis if you're in the consumable goods industry. But if you're like a box service and you're sending out something every single month, instead of, hey, great, you're going to buy this every single month, it's $50 a month, you can give them an option for like, hey, would you also like instead of just buying it for the month, would you like to go ahead and lock in for the year and save this much money? Or if you know that the average person stays with you for 2 months, really, if you could get the average order value above 2 months, you've already won. So if the average person pays you for 2 months and then they leave, you want to incentivize them to stay with you for at least 3 months. So if you're like, hey, would you like to buy for the quarter? And instead of spending, if you're selling it for $50 a month, your normal LTV would be $100, because if they stay with you for 2 months, but now you could say, hey, would you like to get 3 months supply for $120? Because now you're making more than what you would have made already. Mm-hmm. So lifetime versus annual, those are options. You could do exactly what you said, which is more of the same. So that's like the most classic version of an upsell. You're selling supplements. You're going to go buy a chocolate protein powder. You're like, hey, would you like to get a second chocolate protein powder for 50% off or whatever? You can do that. But like those have really, really low take rates. It can help in the right context, but very few times that's the best thing to be offering. You could do more of the same, but different. This would be a much better option. So let's say the exact same thing that I was just saying, chocolate protein. Hey, you're about to buy this chocolate protein powder. It's going to be a month's supply. You could say, hey, would you also like to add our second most popular flavor, strawberry protein, to your order, or vanilla protein for a percentage off? And you don't always have to do a percentage off, but like you do need to incentivize them to do it in some way, shape, or form. So you could do like more of the same, but different. So that'd be like offering a different flavor, or like, hey, someone's about to buy a black tea from you, but you also like a black t-shirt, but you also sell like the exact same shirt, same cut and everything, but in long sleeve. You're like, hey, would you also like to get our long sleeve option for X amount more? That would be more of the same, but different. Mm-hmm. Or if you're like, hey, they're buying a black t-shirt, would you also like a red one? So anyway, that would be that example. The next one would be more of the same as continuity. You see, sticking along the lines of supplements, that I guess that's just what we're talking about. Probably because I saw you with your shaker bottle earlier. That's probably what had me thinking about.
That's the easiest one too to look at.
Yeah. But yeah, more of the same as continuity. So this is really easy with like a consumable goods. So, hey, you're about to get this protein. The average protein lasts someone for 30 days. So, hey, would you like to go ahead and sign up where for 15% off or 20% off, we will ship you out a jug of protein every single month. Just get on our recurring plan or like our continuity plan. You could do something like that. And you don't, by the way, guys, you don't have to be in the consumable goods. If you're like, I sell books, cool. Well, that might not be the same. Like you might not be able to use that actually, but like, let's say you sell clothes, you can totally use that. You're like, hey, would you like us to send, like some people have very simplified wardrobes. I used black tea earlier. Hey, would you like a new black tea shipped to you every single month or every 3 months? We'll send you out our newest version of our classic t-shirt that we're selling or jeans. Like people are always upgrading their jeans. Once again, I'm just going over the core different types of upsells and you could apply them to your business model. They're not all going to be applicable. So anyway, that's more of the same as continuity. You can do warranties. So like Apple,
one I love,
dude, so good. You could do like Apple does this so well. It is by the way, guys, warranties are really just 100% profit margin because very, very few people actually take you up on them. And honestly, it's something you probably would have done regardless. Like if you are an ethically, like you're just a good moral business owner, you're going to stand by your product. And so if you're selling a t-shirt and the seams completely rip 2 months in and someone's like, hey, my seam's totally ripped. I didn't even do anything. Like, will you please replace this? You're probably just going to replace it. If you're like remotely, like you truly care about your brand and your customer service. So you could offer a warranty for something you probably would have done regardless. And that's 100% profit margin. And so I was saying Apple does this. Apple Care, they are like they're the champions at this. They wait until at the time of purchase to offer it. So if you think about even going into an actual physical Apple store, like the last time I was there, they waited until like, because they will take your card and like they don't have a cash register. They have a person with like an iPad and they swipe it. They waited until they took my card for the phone that I was about to buy. And then they said, hey, would you also like to add on Apple Care for this to protect your phone for it? Like it was like an indefinite future because they did offer it. They used to offer it for like $99 upfront, but now they offer it because they're like, well, the average person keeps their phone for a while. So we could actually offer a monthly warranty. And so now it's a monthly option. They're like, hey, because, and it's a smaller ask too, but it makes them way more money in the long run. So they're like, hey, it's like $9.99. They're like, hey, for 10 bucks a month, would you also like to add on Apple Care? And you're like, well, what does that cover? And they're like, well, it covers whatever, like software damage. And if your phone breaks out of nowhere and if it stops charging or if it loses its charge, we'll totally replace it for free. And you're like, yeah, that's a no brainer. And then they're like, then they get you with a second upsell on the exact same thing. They're like, would you actually like to have Apple Care plus theft and protection? And so what that covers is they're like, they actually reveal the flaw to you about the first thing you were about to buy to get you to buy the second thing. So they're like, hey, look, they do it with the first presentation of Apple Care. They're like, hey, these phones are great, but they're like $1,100. And yes, sometimes their battery, like everyone knows the battery is going to go out. So would you like to cover that for 10 bucks a month? You're like, okay, dang, I was really excited about this phone, but yeah, I guess I should probably get this as well. So then you do it. And then you're like, they point out the flaw. They're like, hey, by the way, these phones break really easily if you drop it. We don't cover that in the normal Apple Care. So would you like to, for $13 a month, get theft and protection? So that way your real risk of someone actually stealing your phone or you dropping it and breaking it, we'll protect that too. You're like, might as well. So anyway, that is a fantastic warranty, even in a completely different industry. Something such as, I was actually interviewed on a podcast last week to contractors. Like people that were like remodeling homes. And I was like, you guys could easily offer a warranty that's a paid subscription. And you're like, hey, we build this $20,000 deck for you, or we go do a $50,000 kitchen renovation for you. Hey, for $200 a month, you can keep us on retainer and we'll take care of your honeydew lists every single month within the kitchen. So like if you need paint touch up or if a cabinet hinge breaks or whatever, we'll come out and replace that totally, like totally on the house. It's not free because you're paying for this protection, but you could easily increase the lifetime value of a customer by offering that. And they're like, well, I'm already paying $20,000 for this kitchen or this deck. So yeah, I would definitely like it to be protected for the long run. So anyway, like yeah, you could totally cover your charge for warranties. Like I said, it's 100% profit margin up until people take you up on it. And oftentimes people don't take you up on it. I've had Apple Care my entire life, and I've had an iPhone since 2009, I think. And I think I've only used it once. And it was because my phone literally completely stopped charging. And so I used my Apple Care for that. And like, that's pretty good for them, not me. But whatever, I keep paying for Apple Care. Another option would be tools. So let's say that you're selling like a bicycle. This is a random example, but like if you're selling a bicycle, this is more of a cross sell. You're not like having anyone upgrade their bicycle, but you could say like, hey, would you like to also buy this air pump? Or this bike seat cover to make your butt more comfortable as you're riding down the road? Would you also like to get a free repair handlebar? Like if you're into like BMXing, like your handlebars get like the grips wear out really, really quickly. Or you're really hard on the grips. So you're like, hey, would you also like to get our upgraded grips or like a second set of grips for your bicycle? Cool. Like those would be examples of like tools or like cross sells. In an apparel industry, you could do this with like, hey, you just bought a pair of jeans. Would you also like a belt with your order? Or, hey, you're whatever, you just bought this really cute shirt. Would you also like to buy this cute little necklace that would go well with that shirt, or this hat that would accessorize with the shirt really, really well? So you can give other things that go well and with the first thing that ultimately, like, this is a mindset shift. Some people might be watching this or listening to this thinking, man, this is like, if you're trying to do all this, you're just so crazy hungry for sales. Like that's kind of weird that you're trying to push that hard for sales. But here's the thing. In all of these examples that I'm giving, customers feel better taken care of, and they're more excited about their original purchase. Apple Care. I walk out of the mall with my new phone or with my new $2,000 laptop, knowing that that thing's protected. I've got peace of mind. Whenever I buy something that allows me to enjoy a shirt that much more, or because ultimately I'm buying a shirt to look better in a specific environment. And so now you're just giving me something else that will make the shirt look better and make me feel better about myself. In the example of a tool, I'm like, yeah, I just bought a bicycle. But yeah, I do know that the handlebars are, or whatever I do know that the bike seat's going to be notoriously uncomfortable on my long, I would say road trips, but cycling trips, whatever you want to call them. It's like, yeah, I'm actually, that bicycle seat is going to make me much more excited to use this original bicycle. Like more of the same, but different. Like, hey, yeah, I was excited about the chocolate protein, but honestly, getting strawberry in there is going to be so much better for the next week or like whatever, for the next month, because now I get to switch it up each day. So now I'm not going to get tired of my initial purchase. All of these upsells are examples of ways to serve your customer at a higher level. They will leave literally feeling better about their initial purchase, and they're going to be more excited because they feel like you're truly serving them. So yeah, those are things that I would say. There's two other really, really small examples. There's tools that are like templates. And so that's going to be more of like a SaaS model. You don't really deal with SaaS companies, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't talk about that. And then the other one, this is most often used in SaaS, but it could still be applied to physical goods, which is going to be giving them 3 options. So last time I was at movies, last week, actually, Amanda, my wife, is like, hey, let's get popcorn. I'm like, oh, great. I already know where this is going. Sure enough, we go up to the cash register. You're like, yo, medium popcorn, $8.75. Large popcorn, way unnecessarily big, but $9.25. Yeah, if I'm paying $8.75, I might as well pay another 50 cents more for the upgraded option. And of course, they have small too, but like, you don't want to get the small when you're sharing. Like, you just don't do that. But same thing, if you have a physical good that's like, car brands do this. Granted, most cars are not often sold through a Shopify store.
I was literally just thinking about this.
Yeah. But like, yo, you go buy let's say a Lamborghini Aventador. They have the Lamborghini Aventador. They have the Lamborghini Aventador SV. They have the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Those price ranges are like $550K, $650K, and like $700K. Same car, but slightly different options on 3 different on the 3 different tiers. And you're like, well, you're going to get the event door, but which one do you want? More so, which one can you afford at that option? But anyway, those are some examples of ways to increase your average order value with upsells. I know that was a ton of information, man. So sorry if I just like brain vomited it on everyone.
That's okay. I think they can tremendously appreciate the value right there, because I know that just got me like a ton of ideas. AOV, like I said, it's a very fun one, and I think it comes down to that, like you said, that mindset shift. Because I knew, like, back in my early days when I was like trying to do like drop shipping stores and stuff like that, before I started running an agency, it was like, oh, I'm barely convincing someone to purchase a $30 product. Why would they purchase another $5 product?
Yeah.
Why would they purchase a $10 product? And at the time, it was mostly reflected just due to like my financial situation. And then now I look at it, I'm like, it's all about the customer experience and how can you provide an amazing experience to them. One of like my few times that I felt amazingly cared for was actually when I went to a Total Wine, which is kind of like a liquor store that we have in our area. And I walked in, I told the guy what I was looking for. He steered me to the specific wine for Mother's Day. So I was already in the mindset of purchase for my mom. And he sold me on this wine. I was like $150. And then he was like, look, so it's a great wine, but what would happen if she doesn't like it? What's another taste she likes? And then he steered me over to this other wine for like $30-$40. Just in case she doesn't like the expensive one, she has a backup and she doesn't know the price in it. They just you. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes really great sense. Let's get that other one. And then he was like, okay, cool. He's like, do you have a gift wrap? Do you have a box, anything to put in? I was like, you know what? Actually, no, I don't. So he walked me over to the box. He helped me select the one that fit the box perfect. He said, like, this way you don't have to actually go out to the other store and stuff like that. Because he asked what I was doing after. I said, yeah, I'm going to go to Walgreens, find a box for it. He said, we got you covered, man. And then that box is like $5-10 for it. Then he's like, great. He's like, you have a card? I'm like, you know what? I don't. So he's like, look, we have all of our cards right here. You're good to go. Yeah. Now, look, I was someone that needed a Mother's Day gift. I was someone that needed packaging for it. I was someone that wanted to provide a great gift to my mom. And I went in there with a budget of like $150 and ended up spending like $210 at the end of the day. I spent more, but guess what? That experience, I didn't leave the table sour. Oh my God, I went in there and spent this and spent this. I left feeling very, not loved for, but like cared for. Mm-hmm. And as a customer, I felt amazing. And it makes me value their business and makes me want to go back and shop there more and more, because they've treated to me and they cared for all of my different problems and needs by, it was upsells pretty much. And figuring out the different problems that people have once they purchase this product, and not limiting themselves to just that one product. Hey, we sell wine. We can only sell wine. No, they went out. Okay, hey, it's Mother's Day. We can also sell cards. We can also sell gifts, gift boxes, things like that. So that was just my interesting experience with like AOV boosting. And that's like probably one of the best ways I can visually like tell people like an experience of like just care for your customer at the end of the day.
Yeah. And another direct example real quick of super simple. It could have been applied to an e-com model, but this was physical goods in a little market. A lot of it was this little market in Nashville. If anyone that's watching this that lives in like remotely a normal size metropolitan city, you probably have these little markets where a bunch of sellers that make crafts and like random little homemade things go pop up their little tents, and it's like just a bunch of rows of like little sellers that are making their homemade goods and crafts and stuff. And so my wife and I were walking around, and we walked in this little tent, and there was this lady was making it was like, I would call it crochet. I think there's a specific word for it, but it was like these custom made knitted things essentially. And she had coasters, and she had some like earrings, and she had like a blanket and just a bunch of random things. And my wife and I were sitting there trying to decide, like, we liked a lot of this stuff, and we're trying to decide, we're like, do we want the coasters or do we want the other thing? And it was like, I think coasters or let's just say it was a blanket, but I forgot what it was. Anyway, but they were equivalently priced products, and we're like, do we want that one or that one? And we ended up going with the coasters. If the lady had seen that we were debating between the two of them, and she's like, hey, you buy both, buy one, get one half off, would have done it immediately on the spot. There's another place in that exact same marketplace. We went over and this lady was selling just like these homemade earrings. And Amanda was looking at them and she had like 3 or 4 that she was looking at. She's like, Zach, do you like this one, or this one? And the seller is like sitting here watching me help her figure out which one I like. Clearly, you realize that your customer is interested in all 4. If you just simply said, hey, buy 2, get 1 free, buy 3, get 1, get the 4th free, something like that, guaranteed we would have bought all of them. No, we bought 1. Customers want to be sold to. No, they don't actually want to be sold to. They want to buy more when it makes sense. Like customers, people don't want to be sold to, but they love buying things. People love buying things. It's fun. It's exciting, but only when it makes sense. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway for anyone watching this, no matter what type of business you have, no matter what you're selling, even if you're in like selling like services, even if you're like another agency and you're trying to like figure out what in the world Nick's doing and with the agency stuff, you can figure out how can you serve your customers at a higher level? What are things that they naturally probably want that would allow them to enjoy your service or your product that much more and offer it? It's not like you're saying you need to buy this. Instead, you're like, hey, do you want this? That's the best upsell ever. It's like, you're not chasing someone down and saying, buy this. It's more so like, hey, would you also like to add this? Cool. No, you don't. Okay. No big deal. Oh, yes, you do. Awesome. No big deal either way. So yeah, just serve people, man.
Love it. Well, I think that's a great place to end there. Zach, man, what is it that you do specifically, and where can people find you if they're interested in learning a little bit more about you?
Yeah. What is it I do specifically? I would call it direct response marketing consulting. Some people would call it revenue consulting. At the end of the day, clients hire me because they're already doing pretty well. They're already high 6 figures, they're low 7 figures, and they're trying to figure out where in the world are they leaving money on the table in their business. Sometimes that's with customer acquisition. Sometimes it's with making more money in the back end, having the customers spend more. And so I come in and consult with them and figure out, hey, where are we leaving money on the table, and how can we make a change that will not just boost revenue, but will actually increase revenue for the long term, and it'll be a sustainable change to increase your revenue. So that's what I do. And then what the second question was, where can people connect?
Where can people connect with you? Instagram, Facebook, anything specifically?
I'm going to say either, probably both of those, either Instagram or Facebook. I'm not going to send you to a website. I'm not going to be like your typical business person and say, hey, go check out my website. No, like just if you enjoyed this interview and you got any value out of it, number one, the coolest thing you could probably do, and this would be the best way to connect with me and support Nick, take a screenshot. If you are listening to this on YouTube, like take a screenshot of this specific little, whatever that this spot in the interview, and go post it on your Instagram story, tag Nick. What is it? At Nick Theriot.
At Nick Theriot _.
Yeah. And then tag myself at Zach Hesterberg. If you do that, number one, he'll be able to thank you for listening to his channel. He'll be able to ask you questions, you guys will be able to have a cool conversation. But 2, it supports his channel. It helps people figure out, or it helps your followers and your friends be able to, it adds value to them, and it allows more people to be able to find out about the amazing work that Nick's doing here. He's not charging you to make these videos, so support him in that way. And thirdly, it connects with me as well. And I will personally thank you for listening to this interview. And I would love to gift you a book, or advice. You could probably make way more money if you just allow me to like check out your website. If you send me your website or whatever, I'm happy to like give you one specific piece of advice that would be able to make you more revenue. But if not, and you don't even have a business yet, let me know and I'll just gift you a book or something.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you a ton for coming on today. I think this was massive value for AOV, specifically for people looking to increase their AOV. Again, something we haven't really talked much about on this channel. So there's a lot of very few clear ways now for people to help out. And I think that's been a massive help for a lot of people. So if you enjoyed this episode, drop a comment below with what AOV method that was mentioned in today's video that you're going to go try in your store, and let us know how the results come through. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Zach, any last words before we hop off?
No, support Nick in whatever way he's asking. Go subscribe if you haven't. And if you have subscribed and maybe you have an e-com store, like hire this dude. I have, you mentioned at the very beginning of the show. I've mentored him a little bit, and I have seen The results that he gets for his clients are unbelievable. And the
Mhm.
even more unbelievable is the amount of attention and detail he puts into clients' accounts. He hires other consultants to help him get better results for his own clients. Like, this
Mhm.
dude cares about his clients. And if you are looking to hire an agency, this is the guy to do it with.
Well, I appreciate that a ton, man. Well, thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. I'll see y'all later.